is the only thing that worth killing, that is worth fighting, worth lying, and worth dying for. It is the only thing that will last.
The island of Barbuda is now in the path of Hurricane Irma.
Irma is now the strongest hurricane to ever plow into the Leeward Islands by continuing to churn for over 24 hours with winds above 180. Expected to swallow up Barbuda. We have had no contact.
If you've ever heard 185-mile-an-hour plus wind howl, it can get really scary. I've never heard my mother pray so much in my entire life. She just kept praying and praying and praying. What I remembered most was watching the roof lift up and come back down 3 times. The rafters came out of the slats in the wall. It went up once, went up twice, went up the 3rd time, then you just heard boom! Then the whole room turned white.
We came away from that end of the house and came to this end, and the next thing we knew, part of that roof came away and everything was getting wet, so we had to get out of there too. We came in here, and within minutes of being here, part of the ceiling had gone, and then we thought, oh, where are we going to go? So we went into the little bathroom there, and there was one point where we didn't know if we were going to get us out. So we stayed in there anyway, and we looked in the airing cupboard and we couldn't fit. So we stayed just in the porchway, and Cedar kept peeping out every time we heard a noise, because it was another sheet of plywood going to come off, because they were coming off here, coming off there, and coming off there, and we waited and we waited, and then there was a kind of a lull, and we looked at each other and we thought, and then it started the noise again, and we thought, no, it's not time, because we'd already decided when the lull comes we're going to run out, just find somewhere else to be. And the lull came again, and it lasted. Next morning, daylight came, dawn, and we came out, and you just couldn't believe what you were seeing. It just left you speechless. There was so much damage.
Irma was extremely destructive. It came fast, it struck fast. 1 minute before the hurricane, everything was standing. After the hurricane, you looked over and said, wait, isn't there a building supposed to be there? When you realize that the building was gone, then you realize the strength of Irma.
I didn't cry that day until I saw a tamarind tree that was over 100 and something years old. And I'm saying, if that tree fell, imagine what my place looked like. And as I passed, I saw nothing. Only thing was there was just a slab. And then I heard we were going to be evacuated.
Give Daddy's due. He argued all the time, said this isn't right. You should not be taking everybody out of Barbuda all at once. This isn't right. But in the end, We were so traumatised by what had happened during Irma. You just didn't want to be here if anything else came, because when you looked about the village, there was nowhere, very few police places that had roofs intact. So we just thought, yeah, we have to go. So we went to Antigua. But when we landed on the quayside, he said, this isn't right. We shouldn't all be coming out of Barbuda all at once. It's not right. He saw that Barbuda was being emptied, and that means anybody could come here and lay claim to it. Anybody could come here and do what they want with it. And whilst we were in Antigua, there's nowhere for you to be safe in Barbuda. Things were being done to Barbuda that Barbudans would not have tolerated.
When the order came for mandatory evacuation, I told them I'm not moving. So I stayed. The military was here forcing people to leave. I got very suspicious. What was the motive for taking people off of the island?
I was born here in Barbuda. I was born in 1925, the 10th day of October. And I'm still here, holding on. My mother called me Brownie. From the time I was a little girl, I come up with that. And most people didn't know my name was Renetta. They always called me Brownie. Coming up as old, they call me Dada Brownie. So that's how some of the young ones, they call me Mama. But before I got married, I was Renetta Biza. When I was growing up, on the land I know, everybody worked, they have their own ground, they cut their ground. It was hard. It's a hard thing. We have to work hard. But we couldn't do nothing else but work and for us to survive. Barbuda is for Barbudans. My mother, they told me that this land was given to Barbudans from their old parents, the forefathers, you see, and it was handed down to us, but now they want to take it away.
The Barbudans made the sacrifice over 300 years for when the emancipation break forth and all the plantocrats and slave owners, as you might call them, came to the British government and the parliament convened that the whole situation should be abolished. Barbuda was a private property. You have no governor, but all Barbuda had was overseers who were employed by Sir Christopher Codrington. When Codrington was called upon to decide what he is going to do, whether he is going to compensate the slaves and repatriate them, he declared himself bankrupt. So the British government asked him, so then if you declare yourself bankrupt, you still have 50 years holding on the land, what are you going to do? He said, well, my best idea, and if the parliament would support me, I'm going to divide the land in three. I'm going to give one portion to the inhabitants. I'm going to give a portion to the Codrington College in Barbuda, and I'm going to give a portion to the church, which is the Anglican Church, which he was the founder of, and it was agreed upon. After 150 years passed, we ceased to be squatters, but we became owners, and that's how we wanted to be until the end of Earth's day.
Barbuda, the place I love more than anywhere else. It's quiet, it's tranquil, without the hustle and the bustle. It's a place where family can be family. The people are genuine, especially in times of disaster. We band together more than any time else. The thing that divides us sometimes is politics. But apart from that, we still remember that we're family. Land and family. Those are two things that ground Barbudans. When you touch our family and you touch our land, no matter who you are, what money you have, money does not frighten us. Land for me is paramount. I remember growing up, my father always said, when you turn 16, you get your first piece. That's when it's legal to have a piece of land. So it wasn't about getting your parents' property, it was about getting the land for yourself. But that piece of land is important.
When I was growing up, it was a little quiet place. It was one village, and where everybody was in love. They used to call it a little paradise. But now, it's not a little paradise where everybody seems to do everything that is bad and whatnot. No, we don't love one another now. It seems as though everybody is for themselves. But that time, when I was growing up, and my mother sent me to my neighbor, tell her or tell him to give us something, I'm going to get it. And the same would everybody do, but not now. So life, that time it was hard, but it was good in a way because we have love. But we don't love one another now. I must tell you the truth. We don't love one another now.
One of the critical things that happened to Barbuda after Irma, and the most important factor, is that the economy was destroyed. Irma did not necessarily destroy Barbuda's economy. What did that was the removal of the human resource, keeping that human resource off of Barbuda for months, and that destroyed the economy. Now, in any disaster, one of the first things you'd want to do is to recover. A community is based on its economy. Services, goods, buying and selling, that sort of thing. So the first thing you want to have happen is to circulate money into that community. Pick the economy up, and there's where the recovery is going to spark up. If you take the people out, you kill the economy, and then you expect recovery to happen, it's not going to happen. So we find that going on 4 months now since Hurricane Irma, we still have electricity poles down, we don't have electricity, running water, hospital services, full medical services, there are no banks, there are no schools. That should not be the case 4 months after a storm. What took place was a deliberate attempt to change our land system, to essentially get a hold of real estate and redevelop that real estate to make millions for someone. We as Barbudans and our lifestyle was not the priority in terms of any recovery. Barbuda is 62 square miles large in terms of its area. The sum total of what people have occupying presently accounts for less than maybe a half of a square mile. So what happens to the other 61 square mile now is that it no longer belongs to you. The resources which are sustained by those 61 square miles, which formerly you could have depended on to meet your living, they're no longer available to you. And that is the critical thing which is happening. So you are being disenfranchised from 61 square miles and only given a piece of paper saying this is yours, nothing else, live on that. In terms of how our culture is and how we have been able to survive for hundreds of years, that's a death sentence. Now imagine everyone taken out. Fishermen had to leave their boats as is. By the time they return in weeks later, gone. So fishing industry, agriculture, the livestock were just the dogs that were left, or pets which we had to leave. Dogs began to pack, and nobody here feeding them or anything. Dogs do what they naturally do. So they started attacking sheep, goats, that sort of thing. And so it was total chaos. And you have to wonder, common sense would tell you, if you evacuate people, these are provisions that you make sure you make. And they were not, no provisions were made for that. So you take people out, leave their animals, leave their homes, because people left with the intention they're going to return in a couple of days. They walk with sufficient clothes for those 2 days. So everything was left for 4 or 5 weeks. What's going to happen after that? Your livelihood's gone, your possessions destroyed. The hurricane didn't do that, but that's the end result of it. Okay? So that's what we face.
This disaster has been turned into a political event where the Prime Minister introduced the idea of title deeds for $1. Not the people. He introduced that. He caused the chaos. And when what should be happening is, how can we help you to get back to your lives?
When you have the head of a nation is going to tell part of the nation that they're undeveloped fools, the whole nation should rise up against that man. Whole nation.
Our land wasn't ever meant to be sold. Even if folks believe we're squatters, squatters have rights. And the squatter thing is that if you live on a land for 12 years, we've been here 300. So as far as I'm concerned, no one owns it but us. I have had it for 300 years. You never took it from me then. What gives you the right to try to do it now because you want to sell it to the highest bidder?
This is what the government is trying to deprive us of. 300 plus years of privileges which became right. But we prefer die first. Don't suffer this present corrupt government to undermine what the Barbudans have sacrificed. Our foreparents, ancestors have sacrificed for to hand down to us. Your parents sacrificed to leave a savings for you. But don't let anybody come and undermine you and take it away and send you back into poverty. No, it's not right.
If my child come and say, Mommy, I want to build a house, a small house, but I like a lawn and I like certain things, and she can't do that because now she's only confined to a 1/4 acre. So now I'll be touching my neighbor. My neighbor is playing in the yard and I can see exactly, we're not accustomed to that. We don't like to be confined. If that's the case, we will live in the Bronx. But not here in Barbuda.
You could end up with a situation where people who are not Barbudans own more land than Barbudans, and you get marginalized right on your own island. After a while, you get outnumbered, and you would lose that unique culture that was Barbudan. A lot of people don't like the idea of losing that way of life.
So after a while, you just pushed and pushed and pushed into one section, and after a while, you have no voice because nobody respects you. And I think that's what it will boil down to if we allow this. It's upsetting to know that because you think you should have the posher house, you should have the yachts and the airplanes and stuff like that, you're going to push me away into a small community. That's the vision they have for us. So we end up being maids in your house and the cook and the bartender and the gardener. You lose who you are. And who we are proud people who are accustomed to being together and do things as a community and not as how you think we should do it.
I would prefer to live in an aisle drum and be honest with a clear conscience than to live in a mansion and can't sleep at night.
think now Barbudans realize that if we don't do it ourselves, no one else will do it for us. If we all come together and work together, things will get better. And we can strike a balance between development and our culture. That's the legacy I want to leave here, that Barbudans continue to grow up having that sort of control over the future of their island.
I want people to remember Barbuda as a place where people fought for what they believed in. When you're a people that were rooted in a place, people tend to try to push you away to let their voices be heard because they think they know what's best for you. They take everything away from you. They cut you down to nothing. And when you take a man's pride and you take away what he stands for, there's no man, there's just a shell. And that to me is what the government wants to do, is to take away you.
God allowed you to survive all that so that you can survive some more.